Hi, welcome. Come on in.
Well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Sign in. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's not like that. Oh.
Not live yet. How's that?
No.
Is that what Michelle's working on?
Yeah, she's working on it. We just want to make sure it's live streamed for everyone who couldn't be here today.
Yeah.
It is, I'm just not showing. Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming today.
Hello, hi everybody. I'm Dr. Stein, the district psychologist from Port Washington. I definitely see some familiar faces and thank you so much for coming. This is Christy McAleer, our assistant director, pre-K through grade 3. We have Dale Bennett, one of our assistant directors, and Greg Silak as well. I also see one of our SEPTA presidents here. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm Krista Citrolo. I'm co-president of SEPTA, the Special Education Parent-Teacher Association. If it's okay, I'll pass out our flyer with some of our information. We put a lot of events that are happening both in and out of the district that benefit students with disabilities and parent trainings and inclusive events. So if you want to just take one, and we're always available for questions and support.
Terrific.
Thank you.
So we're going to get started today. We're really all here to talk about the transition from preschool to elementary school. I know it's only November, but I'm sure it's all on everyone's mind, and we're here certainly. I promise you we will answer every question. We will not leave until every question is answered. But here we go. Kindergarten, here we come. You see a nice picture of students ready to learn. Okay, how does it work? Kindergarten registration. Do I have to register my child in the district even though I already did it for CPSE? And the answer is yes. Your registration is required for all of our kindergarten students. It begins in January. Your child must be 5 years old by December 1st. So that's that cutoff date that everyone always asks about. It's different in different districts and certainly in different states. So it's December 1st of the upcoming school year. Registration is held at the Daily Annex, Central, and there's the phone number and the email, or if anyone wants to screenshot that.
Other hands. Absolutely.
Sure, take a picture, absolutely.
So you want to go in?
A little bit about the CPSE to CSE process. PPS will mail parents a prior written notice or a PWN, one for the annual review for CPSE and one for the CSE transition meeting. It's really important to sign consent because it allows us, if your child has an IEP at the CPSE level, it allows staff from their home school to go out and see them at the preschool. If you don't sign consent, then when they get to kindergarten, you have to re-refer them. But if you sign consent, if they do qualify for CSE services, that will be done at their annual review. The annual review will be 2 meetings, an annual review and a transition from CPSE to CSE. Our meetings begin in February. CSE transition meeting is convened only with, like I said, with the parent consent. And then if needed, the meetings are held back to back, so it'll be again that annual review and that CPSE to CSE transition meeting. If your child may meet eligibility requirements for classification, then your child will be referred to the CSE. And like I said, that happens at that meeting. Eligibility is based on preschool data and progress reports, and there are no new evaluations that are not required. However, again, if you don't sign consent, then we do need to do new evaluations when they get to their home school.
Does anybody have any questions about that?
If we make this process is done with our child, we need to do it again, for example, Arthur. Yes, we need to do it again?
Like, because we had those previous meetings?
Yes.
Yes, so these meetings happen after January. They start in February for all students who have an IEP. So at that meeting, we'll talk about how your son's progress was for this year, and then also what our recommendations are gonna be when he comes into district. Yes.
So the Committee on Special Education is, so if your child does qualify for services once they transition to kindergarten, they go from CPSE to CSE. CPSE, every child is a preschooler with a disability, that's the classification. However, once they transition to CSE, we have to pick one of 13 disabilities for our classification. How does the disability adversely affect educational performance? These are we're focus on the CSE is on educational progress and how a child's disability impacts academic development. It needs to fall within one of the 13 disability classifications. And how we're looking at how does the disability adversely affect educational performance. We no longer rely on county and state eligibility criteria, which was a 33% delay and or 25 in one area or a 25% delay in two areas. Because like when we talk about that at the CPSE level, we talk about a moderate delay or a mild delay, but now we're changing how a child qualifies. The primary responsibility of the CSE is certainly a free and appropriate public education for every student, and we're always looking for the least restrictive environment.
I just want to reiterate again, it's what is happening with the child that's impacting them educationally in the classroom. Not so much what's happening at home, the impact in school.
The purpose of the CSE meeting, to determine eligibility for special education programs and or services, to identify present levels of educational performance, which includes abilities and needs of the child, to develop annual goals in each area of need, to determine the level of participation with non-disabled peers, to determine the appropriate supports and or modifications necessary for participation in age-appropriate activities with non-disabled peers. And certainly the IEP, as it says, is individualized and every child is different, and we really tailor it to their specific needs in terms of what types of services that are warranted and also what types of modifications, if any, are needed for that child.
I just want to add that the classification that we choose, it doesn't drive the service, right? So just because you have your ADHD doesn't mean you get this. Or just because you have this classification means you get that. You have kids that have the same classification, but their needs are different. So we're not so concerned with that, we're just obligated to choose one, but the accommodations or the programs that are recommended are based on your child's need.
Is there somewhere we can see the 13
Oh, yes,
different?
you can look it up, they're federal. And for it's visually impaired, hearing impaired, LD, ADHD.
Autism.
Okay,
It's, yeah.
Yes.
thank you.
So there's a little bit of difference in who's invited to the, from a CPSE or who's at the CSE meeting, but the transition meeting, you're gonna have everyone. It's gonna be a big meeting. So from CPSE, certainly the parent or guardian, that's the same as CSE. The chairperson is actually the same, and it'll either be myself or Ms. McAleer will be your chairperson. Certainly if your child's in preschool, then that teacher will be invited, and oftentimes the director of the school comes as well. The current CPSE service providers, so if your child has speech, the speech therapist is invited to come, if PT, OT, see it. A Nassau County representative comes, and they typically only stay for the CPSE part of the meeting. I've seen them, excuse themselves for the CSE part because they're really there for the CPSE part. And certainly you're always welcome to invite whomever you'd like, just let us know. At the CSE, there will also be the school psychologist if your child's going to their home school, then it'll be that school psychologist. If they're going to one of our programs that's not at their home school, then it'll be the school psychologist that oversees that specific program. There'll be a general ed teacher, it's typically a kindergarten teacher. It doesn't mean that is your child's kindergarten teacher, it just means that there's a kindergarten teacher because they're there to take copious notes to share with the team when they're making placement decisions. And then there's also a special education teacher and/or a speech therapist, and sometimes there's both. So the outcomes of the meetings, at the CPSE level, continued eligibility for CPSE through June or possible declassification. Determine the need for extended school year services, which are July and August. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that process. If your child was had an IEP in the 3s, the provider takes data over a number of breaks. If they show substantial regression, then they qualify for summer services. If not, then they don't, and their IEP will end the last day of school. If it's determined that they meet criteria to be classified for CSE, then if eligible, we'll make program and service recommendations for kindergarten. Sometimes they're not eligible, but we will discuss possible building level services. What's really nice in all 5 of our schools is we have a plethora of building level support services. All children are screened before kindergarten. At the end of this year, you'll bring your child to school and they'll be screened by a speech therapist. They're gonna be looking at all different kinds of skill levels, and while they might not qualify, let's say for speech for CSE, they might qualify for building level speech support.
I wanted to add, and I think that's coming in a couple of slides, anyway, about the different levels of support within the district. But I think when their recommendation is not to receive services in CSE, I think the biggest message is to not be scared of that or them not getting support. First of all, they can be re-referred at any point, but more so when they do that screening, the building is looking for those areas of weakness and what could be supported for those kids that are just on the lower end, right? So when you go to classification, you remember like the curve, and often parents are concerned that lower end, but they're still within the average range, right? But that doesn't mean they're not gonna get building level support, right? They just might not meet the criteria for this. And those are the
13 classifications. If you want to take a picture of them, certainly you can.
If you Google it, you can get little descriptions of what each of those
Yes.
mean.
And the whole presentation is available online on the PPS website also.
Where is available, sorry?
I tried to get a nice, easy website, but it's not. If you search Port Washington PPS presentations, there's a page with the slideshow from presentation.
So there's a pretty large continuum of services. There's students in general education with no special education support. They're not classified at all. Then we have children in gen ed with special education or other support services. They could be consultant teacher services, resource room, OT, PT, speech, counseling, etc. We do have special classes here in Port Washington. We have an integrated co-teach class. We also have our TLC, which is an 812, meaning we have, bless you. We have one special education teacher maximum of 8 students with IEPs and 2 assistants. And we also have our RISE program, which is another self-contained program. It's a little less restrictive than our TLC. It's maximum 12 children, 1 special education teacher, and 1 assistant. And I know it's a long way to think about, long time from now, but our RISE program does follow the regular gen ed curriculum, and those children are en route to receive a Regents diploma.
It's academic where the TLC is more life skills.
Life skills. Our out-of-district placements, sometimes if we don't have a program in district, so we do have a number of students who are out of district, and then certainly our most restrictive would be home and hospital instruction, most restrictive and based on individual and student need. Any questions about any of the services?
The TLC and RISE, is that per school or is there just one class within the district?
So TLC is over at Manor Haven, and so it's K1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5. So there are 2 classes at Manor Haven. RISE, it's housed both at Guggenheim and Daly, but the kindergarten changes. So next year, the kindergarten for RISE will be at Daly. This year, it's at Guggenheim. The teachers loop, so your child, if let's say they are in RISE for all 5 years, they will stay like either at Daly or at Guggenheim. They don't have to switch schools.
And so if they were going to a school that was not the zone school, is there different transportation or?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Transportation is provided for everyone, even if they're out of district, but yeah, it's a different bus.
I just have one question about I just wanna make sure I understand the difference between the ICT and RISE. So the integrated co-teaching is like an integrated classroom of kids with disabilities and kids without
So
disabilities?
the difference is the ICT class, which is housed at SUSA currently, that is led by a gen ed teacher and a special ed teacher. So there are some students with IEPs and then many other students without IEPs.
Okay, but RISE is all students.
So RISE children with all IEPs, however, just so you know, for RISE, those students are mainstream for all specials, art, gym, music, library, lunch and recess with a gen ed class. And the way they do that is, let's say there are 12 kids in the class. The teacher will divide them up into maybe groups of 3 and they go, like, let's say Monday is library and Tuesday is PE. They go with the same class to eat every day to whatever special it is, so they get to know those students. So of course, again, we're always looking for least restrictive environment. So if and when they're ready to be mainstream, oftentimes we try, doesn't always happen, but we try to mainstream into that class that they're already going to specials with, so they know the kids already. And we start out small, maybe an area of strength, and then increase it. When we make the recommendation for them to go to gen ed fully, they've already had some practice in the gen ed classes, and we are getting feedback, not just from the special ed teacher, but also from a gen ed teacher.
And the RISE program, once you're placed in RISE, do you remain in that, or it's evaluated every year?
Every year.
And you move to ICT
There's
and
a
then
big
move to-
distinction between those two, right? So ICT is students who can learn in a much larger group,
Okay,
and there's not much modification done, whereas RISE there is. It's a smaller set, it maxes at 12 students in there, and they modify the curriculum.
but every year it's reevaluated.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, it's even
Review
reevaluated in the middle of the year, like, I used to oversee the RISE, so
Yeah.
that's why I know, but even like sometimes you'll have a student come November, December, and they were saying, you know, Johnny, I'm just gonna use an arbitrary name, Johnny is really doing well, I really see them being fully mainstream. We'll start that mainstream like November, December, slow, and if they're doing well, we'll keep on increasing. We've had kids get fully mainstream, you know, towards the end of the year.
Wow. And they would move then from either Guggenheim or Daly over to SUSA?
So it's not like it's, okay, you go from RISE to ICT. It's not like that at all. So it really depends. We have to look at the child on an individual basis. If they may or may not require ICT. If they do, then that would be a discussion. Or it might be that they are just gonna go back to their home school and sometimes with support. Maybe they need speech, maybe they need OT, maybe they need both.
Okay.
But they don't need the restricted setting of, you know, maximum of 12 children.
Okay.
It's oftentimes the children will go back to gen ed before they go to ICT.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Is ICT at every elementary school? It's also.
Just at Sousa.
Sousa, okay.
Currently, things can always change, but that's what it is now. Any other questions about this slide? So building level services. So non-special education supports for students who present as at-risk or in need of additional support. And this Port Washington is wonderful. We have so many building level supports for our students, which is terrific. We have the building instructional support team, or known as our ICT. They monitor progress of students who experience consistent struggles in the general education class. What does ICT do? They review the data, and those are the list of things that they might look at.
Sorry, you're saying ICT, IST.
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, IST. Thank you. I was still thinking of IST. The Dial 4, iReady, Grade, ENL, class. They're looking at really a lot of different things. They'll recommend short-term interventions such as building level speech services possibly, or social skills support with a school counselor, or academic intervention services. It really depends on the child.
The point of all the schools have tier supports, so just again, what we were saying earlier, if a student doesn't qualify for CSE, or they no longer need the level of support through CSE, there's still 3 tiers in the building. There's tier 1 support, the kids get certain days, tier 2 support, tier 3 support through the gen ed curriculum. They always will have access to that. And whether or not they receive those services, as Dr. Stein just said, is reviewing all the data that we have.
Some frequently asked questions that we've gotten. Will my child's classification change? So again, as a preschooler, every child is classified as a preschooler student with a disability. Automatically, if they do qualify for CSE, we have to pick one of the 13 disability classifications. The CPSE information shared with school staff. So this is exactly what I'm talking about, that letter, that form that just, you have to sign off. If you decide you don't want anyone from your home school to see, we close that file and we do not share it with anyone. You have to sign consent. Due to confidentiality, this information is not shared without your consent. We will send you a consent form. If you sign the consent, then we do share the information with the school. How are services delivered? All the services are delivered through the school, out the school day, by the service providers in your child's school. The building providers create their schedules and groupings based on the CSE recommendations. CSE recommendations must include frequency, duration, group size, and the goals for the service. So you'll see on your IEP, let's say speech, 2 times a week, 30 minutes as a pull out, meaning if it's individual, it'll be 1-to-1. If it's typically at the kindergarten level, we have small groups. It might be 3-to-1 or 4-to-1. You'll see that change from CPSE to CSE really, because of course we want children to really be generalizing the skills and unless it's something very specific where it needs to be worked on 1-to-1. We really find them working on a certain skill with another peer is more
And not
helpful.
only with that is a small group also in the classroom when they can. So once they're ready, rather than get the service within the classroom, work on the skills there.
Joy.
Sure, what happens if I decide not to enroll my 5-year-old child in kindergarten in September? All children age out of CPSE on August 31st of the school year in which they are first eligible to enter kindergarten. If you choose not to send your child to kindergarten and services are warranted, he or she will be referred to the CPSE as it is based on age, not grade. Related services may be provided in the student's chosen preschool. However, we cannot guarantee the preschool as a location of services. Services can also be provided at the agency location with agencies that have approved contracts with Port Washington to provide services. These agencies are likely different than those who provided CPSE services. So again, just to summarize, if you decide to keep them back in preschool, they can still receive services, related services, but not through the CPSE providers.
Correct. And we're also gonna look at the types of services as if they were in kindergarten in one of our schools, in terms of our recommendations. They might change from what they were receiving at the CPSE level.
Special education preschool programs, including special education itinerant teacher seats, cannot continue in CSE as they are CPSE services. You know, and that's something to consider too. If you have a child that has this seat now, it would make sense, it would be our recommendation to start pulling back on those hours if they can, to help prepare them for that independence for when they come to us.
Sure.
So if there are people who, let's say, for whatever reason, they don't want to enroll their child in kindergarten, and let's say they put their child in a private preschool program for that year, then what happens when it's time to go to, you know, Guggenheim or Daly? What happens there? Are they put into first grade, or are they?
Kindergarten, so we'll have a meeting, I typically chair those meetings. So we have an annual review, we'll review progress, we'll hear from all of the related, like your child was held back, or you chose to hold them back and they got speech and OT, we're gonna hear from speech and OT, see if they made progress, see if they still meet criteria to be classified as under CSE. We'll hear from the classroom teachers, certainly you, and then if we do determine that they still require services, and let's say they're going back to their home school, typically I go out and observe them during the year that they're in the preschool. Then we just have a meeting and they go on to kindergarten.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
What happens if I decide to enroll my 5-year-old child in kindergarten in September in a private or parochial school? If you choose to
Well,
send
no,
your,
that's different.
Yeah, that's
yes,
That's a different question.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you choose to send your child to a kindergarten program located in another school district, you must sign a non-public school placement letter prior to June 1st in order to receive special ed services in the school in September. The school district the school district where the program is located provides the services, not Port Washington. You will also need to register your child in that school district. If you're thinking about this, please let us know so we can work with you on getting your child services in the private or parochial school.
Right, because you'll bring the IEP from Port Washington, and then let's say it's a school that's in Manhasset, for example, Manhasset gets to decide what types of services, what they're gonna approve or not. Also for transportation, there's a cutoff date in the spring, I think it's sometime in April 1st, so if you're going to, so let's say you put your child in a parochial school in kindergarten, and then you decide, you know what, I want them to come to public, then they would go to first grade.
Okay.
Okay, that's the difference.
Got it.
Well, yeah, because they would be in kindergarten.
Right.
Yes.
Those are our direct line phone numbers if you need to contact us directly. The secretaries that you've probably already dealt with, Angela Giambra works with me primarily, Sarah Strickland with our design.
Does anyone have any questions? I know it's a lot of information.
Question.
Yes.
If you have a child who is classified with autism, but they show signs of like a twice exceptional situation where they are very deficient in some areas, but then very good in other areas, are there programs that help does the district have things that help build any of the exceptional type skills versus the others, or is it, no, they're just in one of the 3 programs that were mentioned and you just go along and see how
It really varies.
Really,
Okay.
yeah, it's really those programs. You know, the accommodations sound more like what may possibly change.
Also, child who's autistic, we have many children with autism who are in our gen ed classes, but might have certain weaknesses. Certainly we differentiate instruction, teachers are very well equipped to do that.
We have students with a diagnosis of autism ADHD that don't have an IEP.
Correct.
They're working fine, or the support they need is only at the building level.
Okay.
You know, where maybe they have to talk to a social worker or something, and so we'll be in a social group, let's say, but they don't require any services through CSE.
But there's a huge continuum,
Yeah,
obviously,
sure.
we have certain nonverbal students that are out of district, that if we don't have a program that's appropriate, then that's when we would send out applications for out of
Got it.
district.
Thank
So
you.
all the elementary schools have, in fourth and fifth grade, you can qualify to be in the gifted and talented program, and it doesn't include if you have an IEP. It's based on your performances, not whether you have an IEP or not.
Thank you.
I have a question. I think you may have already addressed it, but where I understood it, SEEDs don't transfer to kindergarten, it's just for pre-K.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Does Port have a teacher of the deaf?
Yes.
Is that like one person that oversees the entire district, or is it like on a school, the whole?
Throughout the she manages the whole district.
Yeah. So that person, like, say, if my child has a hearing impairment, so they would come, like, if the services are provided, say, like, once or twice a week, they would go to that school district, or
Correct,
go to the
that
school,
school,
and then.
Yes, so
And
receive the
certainly
services in the
accommodate.
school.
They wouldn't need to go to a different school for those
They
services.
do not need
They-
Okay.
And also the teacher of the deaf would be consulting with the team at that home school to make sure the classroom is set up appropriately, that everything, even when they go to library, gym, we are gonna set everything up.
Yes, and if the student requires the device, you'll manage that.
Yeah.
So,
Any other questions? No? Well, if you think of anything, feel free to reach out to us, we are
Unless if you
here.
think of something after, yes.
And thank you all for coming and braving the cold. So nice to see all of you in person and not on a screen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stop the live stream. Stop the live stream.
Just press stop stream.
It's okay, I have two kids too, and
Oh, Michelle's coming, I'm not touching it.